You better believe Bro gets second billing since he's one of the very select few to play multiple characters in this franchise.
For reasons long forgotten, two mighty warrior tribes went to war and touched off a blaze which engulfed them all. Men began to feed on men.
The black and white 4:3 footage that doesn't at all look like the collapse of society in the 70s or 80s, which of course it doesn't. No one was recording that, and since we find out that the narrator is the feral kid, I like that this is just his idea of what it might have looked like. He never actually lived through any of it. And see, there you go. Now you've seen the important parts of Mad Max. It's like 3 cool stunts and then his family dies. It's awful. Toe Cutter is there. I mean, the movie is not awful. But look, if you really want me to do it, I will. But it's just fine. The only part of Mad Max that really ties into this one is the last 10 minutes when he's all rampagey. What's that? The opening of The Moon is Down by Further Seems Forever? Where are my early Chris Carrabba fans at? Love the pull-out from the intake, and the overwhelming sound sets the stage for the power of vehicles in this one. And like, how much cooler is he now? He was just a baby in that first one. Now he has scruff. And fun fact, the first time Mel was in wardrobe, he thought he wasn't scraggly enough, so he took scissors to his head and plucked hairs out of his eyebrows. It's Bandit! Cutie blue healer, what a good boy. Hey, you know what's great about making these videos? This dog will not die in our canon. Cool with you, cool with me. And for real, fun fact from George Miller, this dog was ready to be put down before this movie when they rescued him, and he lived out his days on a farm, like an actual farm upstate. Well, see, there's your problem. Your gasoline isn't in gallons. Americans, we're the worst. Right out of the gate, we're in the frantic action, feeling every intense moment. The score and sound design is truly absurd for a film they made for less than $5 million. Perfect timing, some Road Warrior, I finally get that, ingenuity. You've seen my Fury Road video, so even if this is your second George Miller movie, you already know that the stunts are practical and you can always feel it. This cold open sets up Wes as an unhinged wacko, which is great, he is, but a really good way to make the humongous be a total shock. How can it get any weirder than this bloke? Oh, you just wait. And it also does so much to introduce Max, he no care ever. Spanner, shifter, regardless of what you call wrenches that you can adjust. Hanging one off your vest seems like a hazard, but also sets up the hierarchy of needs for Max and also makes him look mega cool. That was a certified 80s moment right there, friends. The low synthy score clipping before a horror death scream. We just did Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and Caesar isn't a big smiler. Max might be even less of a smiler, so we'll take the half-second smile at the hurdy-gurdy. Legolas was right, gasoline was spilled. When I tell you I have to censor a homemade helicopter, what do you think it's for? It's listed in the credits on IMDb, you can find out for yourself. Or, just be watching on Nebula. Look at these two outfits. Bruce's Duster is the most money coat I've ever seen, and Max would be cooking in all black, but I wouldn't change a thing if I were him. Wearing black leather in the desert makes you even more terrifying, because he'd have to be insane. Fun fact though, it was winter, so it's actually pretty cold.
Crap. No.
Max, the type to slit your throat with barely any hesitation. Yeah, that's the real Max.
Booby trapped. Touch those tanks and...
It really did seem like he was bluffing, which maybe that was the point.
Ka-chunk, ka-chunk. Build a bear.
This first battle has always stuck with me because we're so far away and removed from it. It adds this voyeuristic realism to it, like the movie is happening over there and we haven't quite gotten to it yet. Even the introduction of Humongous is almost underwhelming, like he's performing for someone else. We're just thankful to not be in his path, which makes his full intro later all the scarier. Dog just over here stealing the scene. The main thing you probably noticed earlier was the fly on Max's face, but there's also a tarp on the truck that says, "The vermin have inherited the earth," and I love that Humongous took ownership of that. He might have even had Wes write it. Look, no way Dog is leaving that much food in there, but I still enjoy that he doesn't even go to beg for the food. He knows he's next in line, and then he needs to let the gyro captain know where he sits. Maybe Dog was just feeling generous. Bruce clearly enjoyed himself, though. Speaking of stealing scenes, Dinky D is a flat-out hilarious name for anything, let alone dog food. And it's totally made up. They could have just gone with Dog Munch or Pup Chum or Food for Dog, but nah. They aimed for the stars. Get it, Dinky D. Again, we're still so far from the action, but starting to feel less and less safe. What comes next cements that feeling. These aren't normal men. These aren't just innocent men. And the detail that the gyro captain's scope actually brings us closer to the action. Usually we'll get multiple zooms from one scope's POV, and you don't even really notice, but the continuity here is impeccable. Yeah, that checks out. And the shift on Bruce's face says it all. And I appreciate that they give the gyro captain this moment of humanity, even as he himself is a prisoner. It's kind of bananas how dust just makes the whole thing look more badass. IRL just gives me congestion and my cheeks get hot. That's normal, right? Yeah, that's not enough comeuppance. Let's see that again. Honestly surprised Warrior Woman didn't make it to Thunderdome? No, I'm not making a joke, that's her name. While we're at it, this is the Gyro Captain. I might call him Bruce occasionally because Bruce Spence is a Kiwi Aussie legend. And even though Max is killing it with all his black leather, it still makes sense they're all wearing mostly white or light colored clothing. Even if it's cold, it's still sunny.
There was a woman in the car.
She's dead.
What did they do?
It was quick.
There's a lot of reasons to respond like that. Some selfish, upsetting the peace won't benefit Max, but also what good comes of knowing the truth?
The last of the V8 interceptors.
Piece of history.
Friend, you have no idea. All the little blink and you'll miss it details, like the steel reinforced bus side, the bald tires stacked up as a wall. I mean, the mechanic's little Burning Man-esque crane contraption is a feat of engineering and we only get a few glimpses of it.
Sometimes I have to remind myself that even though I'm used to it, the Humongous' gang is terrifying. Mohawks have always been punk, they were just a little more common in the 70s and 80s, but everything about Wes is scary. Everything about their vehicles, again, we take it for granted now, especially with how over-the-top Fury Road is, but just look at the Humongous' ride. There's so much going on. 6 wheels, NOS canisters, the spiky rake plow clearly designed for prisoners. Dude isn't messing around.
The wasting of gas is even more terrifying as a show of power. Oh, cool. They're not just rapists and murderers, they're also Nazis. Yeah, we all know the Iron Cross way predates Nazi scum, but come on. Come on. Rest my case.
The Ayatollah of rock and roller!
That's a genuinely clever name. Fun fact, this guy said he wouldn't do this movie if they were gonna kill a bunny, so they used a little arrow rig that pops up and the bunny was totally fine. Look, that's unfortunate. But pay attention? And such an out-of-the-blue death surprises me to this day. But Feral Kid is absolutely wrecking house. Amazing details on the Humongous' head with the vein pumping.
Just walk away, and there will be an end to the horror.
I think we've all always loved the way he talks, we know Matt and Trey did. But just the sheer power of this brosif.
I'll talk to this Humongous. He's a reasonable man.
Define reasonable, because it's all about context, and the guy claiming it is wearing a bunch of medals, a military helmet, a cup on the outside of his pants, all while brandishing a katana. Reasonable is a spectrum. I wish I could get that excited about stuff. What am I talking about? I do. I'm as excited about Feral Kid being excited as Feral Kid is excited. Also, was that another smile? Yeah, we'll take it. And I love that Max frees himself from the handcuffs, but then just continues to sit there. And Max was a cop, so checks out. I mean, it's easy for anyone who puts in a little practice. Not that I'm saying you should, I'm just saying it's easy once you learn. If you choose to do so, or whatever.
You want to get out of here? You talk to me.
And it's because he's always preparing to play any and all the angles. We just don't get much of this anymore. The, as I like to call it, Captain Kirk half-face shadow. A secondary name would be the Colonel Kurtz shadow from Brando's most famous scene in Apocalypse Now, but it's just gorgeous lighting. Also, Miller is just generally obsessed with magic hour, which always gives us these awesome shadows and glows.
Dog.
Good little pup, always ready for action, but still follows commands. And on the other end of light, I think DPs and directors are afraid to shoot this dark. And it's not because they didn't know about day for night. The night riding camel scene from last week's The Mummy was day for night, and it's been a technique since the 70s. But Miller let his cinematographer, Dean Semler, really go for it in these night scenes. It turns the fire into pure danger as it might expose Max and gives the whole moment that much more tension. Now that's a good little buddy. He started to howl.
You're gonna start a howl.
Remember lingerie?
That feels real, because sure, I think top of the list is remembering the days when roving gangs of psychos didn't rape and burn everyone, but two things can be missed.
Fricassee of reptile. Get out! Better than your dog food. No, it's my snake. I trained it. I'm gonna eat it.
I guess Max isn't planning a game night anytime soon. But more importantly, I love that the Gyro Captain is arguing with Dog in the background. Again, 100% believable. You're gonna talk to everybody you can.
Empty all this time.
Just acting like it's loaded is enough. Also explains why Max wasn't worried about Dog standing guard. These shots, man, these are the shots with the camera inside the car already. These are the ones that make this movie special. And sometimes you can just tell that everything you're seeing is real and someone is just holding a camera in the following vehicle. Shots. Did I say shots? Shots. Look at the shots. Does the Humongous have an iris? Or is he just dull pupil? I haven't mentioned it and it's pretty obvious, but nothing that anyone has is new or like theirs either. The Humongous has this special Smith & Wesson revolver that he clearly takes care of and conserves ammo, but that's definitely not him in the picture. Blue Mohawk guy's face is priceless. Also gotta give these two props for making time for each other, even in the heat of a battle. Snake attack feels like one of those we'll see kind of moments in the script, but on screen it's the perfect level of unhinged nonsense we're here for. Now that is a beautiful pink beard. I don't know how I knew, but I knew Wes could do that flip. That light flash, am I concussed too? I feel like we just witnessed the inspiration for Polecats and Fury Road.
Got a cracked timing case cover and it's broken a couple of teeth off.
Got a cracked timing case cover, it's broken a couple of teeth off the timing gear.
Man, I love this scene. Can the lead mechanic not yell? Who cares? This guy has a job to do and he is nailing it.
You've got 12. Okay.
Look, Mel is throwing on the nonchalant charm, but the thing I notice here is the camera wobble because Max steps down on the same platform the camera operator is on. It's odd to long for less polish, but I always feel like I'm really there, not just watching it happen. I love the handprint on Max's neck from Wes.
It's been a pleasure doing business with you, but I'm leaving.
Anti-heroes are a dime a dozen these days, but there is something refreshing about a guy who just does not care about anyone. He's done and will do some heroic things, but he's not just a reluctant hero. He's basically telling them that they're all gonna die and he wants nothing to do with it. You can't tie old Maxie Boy down. We also just did War for the Planet of the Apes on Nebula now, and the apes up on X's gave me Flayed Men flashbacks and ended up being not quite as bad, but this is at least equally as awful.
Nobody gets out of here alive.
What an awesome spot for a speech. But again, Max cares not a lick, just another cuckoo maniac doing bad stuff. And I'm not even sure I agree with him. These crossfades go hard.
This is my family. I'm not gonna leave these people. I'm staying. I'm sorry.
We stand a multi-dimensional character. He's been a tad manipulative, you could say, but I love that he doesn't push it once she decided to stay. With those teeth, he's gotta pull out all the stops.
Oh, so that's it. You lost the family. You make you something special, does it?
You know, Papa John has a point. If you saw Mad Max, you went through Max's loss, which is why it's easy for us to sympathize with him. But at this point, everyone has lost someone.
I understand your pain. We all lost someone below.
I know every day might be your last, but some things, like activating the bomb, just have to make you wince and squint just a little extra.
Go on, get out. Scat.
White fanging him, which checks out. The feral kid is clearly Max's only weak spot, and it's no coincidence that his own little Sprague would probably be around this age. You know, there are a lot of theories about the feral kid, but he has the same blonde streaks as Max, just saying. Which would explain why he's always so upset when Max leaves. Ah, yes, La Familia gas. And just when you think it's time for an awesome wasteland chase scene, it's over just like that. Solid and brutal expectation subversion.
And if you've always wondered why Max seems so caught off guard, I don't think there were many vehicles that could catch up to his interceptor, and he definitely never expected a 6-wheel truck. And also, who expects a chrome exhaust pipe to be used as a weapon? He forgot about Nas and Wes.
Also, after my Fury Road video, lots of Aussies said that their sand really is red.
Don't waste him. If he's alive, I want him.
We hear that and we think waste like kill, which probably. But something makes me wonder if Wes is using the more traditional meaning of the word, waste not, want not. Dog protecting his guy to the last. I mean, to the rest of his happy life in which he never dies and obviously decided to retire away from all the drama. If there's a scene that really defines Mel, it's this.
Beaten and bloodied, can't even hold his sawed-off shotgun up.
My writer recently made me aware that this is Mel's bread and butter, the basically dead but still going look. No one does it better. Fury Road has a nod to the prisoners on the front of the car, but it served a purpose beyond cruelty. Max was Nux's blood bag, but the more I pay attention to them in this movie, I realize that they're just always there. It's a level of torture I hadn't fully comprehended before. There's no way they're feeding them and wasting food, maybe some water to keep them alive, but it seems like they're just there until they died, maybe after. Classic disorientation technique, the film's double printed slightly out of sync. A practical shot that gives us an overview of the geography and different camps while reminding us that Max is on death's door. What the? Does Wes have a steel implant in his forehead? The feral kid, ever the helpful little dude.
Too late for deals? No deals. I want to drive the truck. Quite a big change of heart. Believe me, I haven't got a choice.
And again with the anti-hero stuff, sure, you could say that Max had a change of heart here, but I think you'd be missing the forest for the trees. He says he has no choice because he doesn't even have a car now. And at best, meaning the motivation for driving the rig that isn't entirely about survival, is that he wants to kill the guys who blew up his car and made his dog yelp and then carry on his happy, helpful life.
And how do you think you'd do it? I mean, look at you. You couldn't even drive a wheelchair.
Sick burn! Flirting, he's cute until he opens the mouth. Tactically, this feels like a weird move, but it sure does add to the mystique, and if we're being honest, Wes is probably into it, at least enough to get all riled up and angry. I like to think this is where the idea for the car plow started. Not so much to clear your path, but to protect the engine block. I mean, it works as a pretty good plow too. In which George Miller predicts drone warfare. Wow, what an impressive CGI explosion. I didn't know computers were capable of such realism. I mean, yeah. Clearly it's practical. Sorry it was still going, took a good 40 seconds. Papa Tom with the expert strategy, splitting up the gang to give Max some breathing room. Yes, the Humongous just pulled that chain apart with his meaty paws. You are correct. Your eyes did not deceive you. Even when they're obviously dummies, there are some seriously gnarly deaths in this film. That's some perseverance. For the record, if I take an arrow to the chest, I'm probably letting go. Love this shot through the back window, but the funniest thing about the Road Warrior, as in Max, is that he hasn't really done anything in the last 10 minutes except drive. I think in our heads these movies are the exclusive stories of Max, but they're so much more a slice of the life that everyone around Max is experiencing. Brutal, her boot stays stuck to the truck. This kid will definitely turn out normal. I'll just never get over the practical crashes. Well, at least he got some alone time earlier, and she can rest easy knowing he died doing what he loved, getting sucked under a huge truck like an idiot. I've literally never wanted anything more than the gyro. It seems hella dangerous, but I never stopped wanting it since the first time I saw this movie. And it creates an excuse for these absolutely mind-blowing shots, allowing us to feel the speed as we're catching up to the ultimate chase. Listen, I grew up climbing around Mack log trucks with my dad, generally not when they were going 112 kilometers per hour.
Americans! We're the worst!
But those stacks get hot? Ask me how I know. Feral Kid is a real badass good guy. Ha, he made a flail out of lag bolts. And now you youngins know why we were so nervous for Hardy Max when he was on the front of the rig. That dude's watermelon came off, head. A hint at what's really going on to those paying attention. Papa Frederick, no! Gyro Captain to the rescue. All-time classic jump scare. The close-up of both their faces is just so intense. I know I didn't do Mad Max, but there is a theme in these movies of big bads playing chicken with bigger vehicles, and you know, it creates some really spectacular crashes and baddie continuity. What's Jordy doing here? Max is alive. Kid 2. Gyro Captain 2. And another smile. You can tell he hates it, but also can't hold it back.
And the Road Warrior, that was the last we ever saw of him.
Yeah, man, he had to go find Tina.
He lives now only in my memories.
Also, this is the opening shot, and looks like they left him Papa Reginald's Phallusmobile. See, I was right. They aren't tent sexers, tent porkers, tent afternoon delighters. They were tent lovers, and should be recorded in history as such. I love the opening narration because it's really what the Mad Max stories are, especially now. Just campfire stories from some old dude who half remembers a super cool leather-clad nomad. Fury Road really cemented that, especially when you consider how similar the stories actually are in broad strokes. And Max saved a town of people by driving a truck away from a place filled with gas. No, I heard he saved them by driving it to Gastown. No, he wasn't driving. A furious warrior woman was. Furious what? Wait, her name was Furiosa? Yeah, Furiosa. Fury Road is one of my favorite movies from the last decade, if not ever, and I know that there are a lot of people who felt the same way, and I know that many of them never saw Road Warrior, which is totally fine. I'm not even remotely gatekeeping here, only watch what you want to watch. I just love going back to the original trilogy because you can see the hints of what was to come. It's well known that Mad Max 2 was what George really wanted Mad Max to be. He just didn't have the money, so he dropped most of the post-apocalypse stuff and made a low-budget cop movie tragedy, but that's not the point. The point is that if Road Warrior is what he wanted Mad Max to be, I feel like Fury Road is what he wanted Road Warrior to be. And not that he would change the particular story, just the level of production that he's capable of now. Each one is sort of like a reboot, which is funny because we complain about reboots, just not when they're done well. Some classics themselves are reboots or remakes. And to me, they're both amazing films. There isn't anything I'd change about Road Warrior. It's just exhilarating to see Miller put it all out there over the years. Mel Gibson is a pretty awful person now, probably always was, and Max Rockatansky is also not a great guy. He has an arc in this movie, but it's almost imperceivable to the human eye. Like I said, deciding to drive the rig was not out of the goodness of his heart. He didn't care about helping these people. It was either that or be stuck with them or stuck inside an exploding oil refinery. Now, don't misunderstand, he's still not a villain. He does plenty of heroic stuff, mostly involving the Feral Kid. But that's always been Max. He'll save you from immediate danger if he can, but then he's gone. He has a bigger arc in Beyond Thunderdome, but we're not there yet. And we won't be next week, but we'll do it. I just thought this would be a fun one to get all hyped up for Furiosa, which I'm already hyped for. There's a stinking stigma with prequels and or spin-offs, but if anyone can land it, I know George Miller can, especially since he's already proven that he can. I mean, have you seen Babe Pig in the City? Next week, Primates here, Corvus is on Nebula.
Dog.